Welcome to Bite-Sized Folklore, the podcast that explores old tales in short storytelling-sized episodes. I'm your host, Jodie, and today we're travelling to the Scottish hearthside to meet one of folklore's most quietly dependable figures, the Brownie. Long before vacuum cleaners and alarm clocks, some households believed they had a little extra help. The kind that came after dark, asked for nothing, and vanished if you got too generous. Brownies were said to sweep the floors, churn the butter, and mend whatever was broken, all while the family slept. But don't mistake them for tame little fairies. Brownies have rules, and breaking them, even by accident, might lose you their favour for good. In this episode, we'll explore where the Brownie legend came from, what sets them apart from other household spirits, and we'll share a true folktale from South Lanarkshire, a story about what happens when kindness crosses a line. So grab a warm drink, settle in, and let's meet the Brownie, Scotland's quietest houseguest. In Scottish folklore, a brownie is a household spirit. Not the kind you eat, but one you might want to leave out a snack for. Brownies are said to be small, wizened creatures, often male with earthy clothing, messy hair, and a strong work ethic. They typically sneak into homes at night, helping with chores while the family sleeps. Sounds like a dream, right? A magical helper who tidies up while you snore? But as with most folklore, there is a catch. Brownies don't work for wages. They expect only simple rewards. A bowl of cream, a bit of porridge, maybe even a slice of cake. But they hate being seen, and they definitely do not want gifts of clothes. Give a brownie a nice new outfit, and chances are, they'll vanish for good. It's kind of like insulting them. The clothes say, "You look like you need these," and the brownie replies, "Fine then, I'm off." This motif pops up in similar creatures across Britain, like the English hob or the Welsh bwbach. But in Scotland, the brownie holds a unique place. They're considered more benevolent than mischievous. Though if angered, they can become a boggart, a malevolent spirit that causes chaos. So where did this idea of the brownie come from? The earliest written accounts of brownies appear in the 16th century, during the Scottish Renaissance, a time when folklore was increasingly being written down rather than passed on only by word of mouth. References to the brownie appear in texts such as Reginald Scott's Discoveries of Witchcraft in 1584. In this text, they speak of household spirits helping humans in exchange for small offerings. It's likely, however, that the stories themselves are much older. They'll have been passed down orally through generations of crofters, farmers, and storytellers in the Scottish lowlands and borders. Some historians link the brownie to ancient Celtic beliefs in household deities or nature spirits. They're generally known as protective beings tied to the land and the hearth. Over time, they transformed from gods to guardians, and then to the familiar domestic brownie, still hiding in the shadowy corners. The brownie reflects a time when people truly lived side by side with the land and the unknown, when life was full of mystery, and not everything that helped you had a face you could see. One of the most charming tales of these elusive helpers is that of the Boghall Brownie, said to have once lived at Boghall Farm near Biggar in the rolling countryside of South Lanarkshire. In the early 18th century, Boghall was an ordinary hill farm, remote, windswept, and hard work for any family to maintain. The land was stony, the winters long, and the hours endless. But then, something strange began to happen. The farmers, who were a humble couple with 3 children, started to notice that their chores were being done before they even woke. Tools were sharpened and laid out, animals fed, and floors swept clean of soot and hay. Milk buckets were filled and stacked neatly by the hearth. All of this happened even though no one had risen early to do the work. At first, they thought one of the older boys was rising before dawn, but the lad swore he hadn't stirred, and no one else in the household had. Yet the work continued, silent, unseen, and very precise. Before long, the family accepted what the neighbours had already begun to whisper. A brownie had taken up residence in Boghall. It wasn't unheard of. Farmers all across Scotland had stories of household spirits. Some helpful and some mischievous, but this brownie was a blessing. Crops grew better, tools broke less often, and even the livestock seemed calmer. The family began the quiet ritual of leaving a small bowl of cream and a hunk of oatcake by the hearth each night. The offering was always gone by morning. Years passed like this. The brownie never showed his face, but his presence was felt in the soft thud of steps in the rafters at night, or the gentle clang of a pail being set down just out of sight. He was never thanked aloud. That would be impolite, even dangerous. But the family spoke kindly of him in private, and avoided entering the kitchen before sunrise. Then, one bitter winter's evening, the farmer's wife decided to do something special. She knew the old stories warned against giving brownies clothes, but surely, she reasoned, a warm place to rest was not the same as a reward. So she quietly laid out fresh blankets on the bench beside the hearth, thick and soft, newly stitched from the wool she'd spun herself. A silent invitation for comfort. That night, as the family slept, they were awakened by a strange sound. A soft, high-pitched chuckle drifting through the house. Then a voice, clear and lifting, sang out, "Blankets fine and bedding spread, I'll no more sleep by Boghall's bed." And with that, he was gone. The cream was untouched the next morning. The tools were still, the animals uneasy. The magic, it seemed, had left with him. The brownie, though never seen, had become part of the family. And now, the silence in the home was almost heavier than before. The story of the Boghall Brownie is a gentle warning passed down through generations. Don't try to reward magic by your own rules. Respect its boundaries. A brownie helps not for payment but for kindness, simplicity and peace. Disturb that balance, even with the best of intentions, and the spell is broken. Some say the brownie moved on to another hearth in need. Others believe he returned to the wild places, to mossy hills and twilight woods. But even today, some in Lanarkshire say that when things are going too well around the farm, it might be worth checking if the cream dish is empty. Brownies reflect a time when life was lived by firelight, when homes were drafty and chores endless. To believe that a little spirit might help with the burden, that's more than magic. It's hope disguised as folklore. So next time you're too tired to do the dishes, just imagine a brownie watching, shaking his head and waiting for his bowl of cream. Thank you so much for joining me on Bite-Sized Folklore. If you liked this tale, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow folklore lover. Until next time, keep your cream fresh and your hearts curious.